Time for some more cricket. Time for more conversation around the cricket. Yes, once again, we always love to refer to that. The two brightest attired teams in the league come together today. May not be quite bright from the point of view of where they stand in the points table, but nonetheless, it's bright orange against bright pink. We shall see if they can take their colours and march forward in the right direction. Welcome to Cricbuzz Live in association with our fantasy partner, My 11th Circle, for Rajasthan against Hyderabad. I am in the company of a brand new combination today. That's how we like to keep it here. Joy Bhattacharjya, we've been there together before, but a huge hello and welcome to Lisa Sthalekar.
Hi guys, how are you? It's good to be finally here, all the way from Melbourne.
We have missed you, Lisa. Joy?
Yeah, but she's done some amazing work on the cricket from Australia. The India-Australia series, cracker of a series. Last two matches are fantastic, and you were so very good on it. Thank you so much.
No, it's been great, and hopefully we've got the day-night test coming up, so plenty more cricket coming your way at decent times before the IPL.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Lisa actually has the toughest job. She may not admit it, but to be in an India-Australia game, we've asked you this, Lisa, before, and we won't probe into that.
Good.
Yeah, but all we know is it was a close finish, and that was good for Lisa to be sort of sticking ahead in both ends. But let's focus on what we have at hand today. We're going to be talking about the points table, which is important. But before that, let's bring in an important player at the very top, someone who's going to be making his debut, and that is Jason Roy. News coming in even before we've gone to the toss that he's going to be making his debut. And I think that itself, Joy, is big news, because mathematically, a lot of people think the men in orange are out. They still aren't.
Yeah, they still aren't. And I think there are two parts to it. One of it is that no IPL team, whether you're out or not out, no IPL team goes in and says, I'm going to lose a match. And this is a proud franchise. In various avatars, they've won 2 championships. They've got 2 of the most successful coaches in the history of the game. Trevor Bayliss, Tom Moody's, brilliant coach. They're not going to walk away and just say that, we're going to lie over and die for other people to go through. They're a very proud franchise, and they're going to say, we'll put up a team and we want to put an emphatic victory on the table. They want to really, really put something there which shows that we are actually a class team. And they are a class team, and just they haven't got those things together.
And Lisa, when you talk about a class team, they've been led in the past by David Warner, gone from captain to batsman, specialist batsman, but just didn't find his mojo this season, did he, Lisa?
No, it was really different from him. Like, he always scores over 500 runs for IPL. That's what you bank. That's what you know. That's what you trust. But he hasn't looked good at all this season. We saw in the first part of the IPL, he didn't seem happy. He was upset about selections. It was almost like he was letting off-field issues really affect him, publicly kind of dissing the selectors, which you don't often see. You normally, all of that stuff happens behind doors. We're never led into those private conversations, but he kind of blew the whistle, so to speak. And then since then, he got stripped of his captaincy, and things haven't turned around for him. And one thing that we know in this IPL, doesn't matter who you are, what name you are, if you're not up to the mark, you're benched. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's and the numbers tell the story. Lisa was obviously not exaggerating, Joy, when she said 500. It's the kind of number we put up as an exaggeration. In Warner's case, Joy, it's literal. 800 also at times in a season, but the sharp contrast to the ones we've highlighted, 9, 11 and 21.
Yeah, no, in 11, he was just coming back, and, Delhi was not, he was just trying to establish his image. Remember, 2009 was also a tough place because they were playing in South Africa. They were not getting all the games. But look at this guy. If you say Suresh Raina is the best batsman overall in the first 5-6 years of the IPL, the most consistent batsman, then the next 5 years of the IPL, or right up to 2020, belonged to David Warner. I mean, you wake him up and he'll give you 500 runs. Nobody, not even Virat Kohli, Chris Gayle, nobody, ABD, none of them has had that kind of consistency. And what he's done till last year, if you noticed, was he got them in a remarkably risk-free way. He didn't take too many chances and still got them at 130, 140. That's not happening now. Now when he's not taking risks, his strike rate is going down to 100, 110, 120. he's not being able to get those risk-free runs that he was. And somewhere there, a player like David Warner, you look at him, you have to say it's inside his head. Because talent-wise, there's absolutely no doubt that he's fit and he's absolutely physically at the peak of his form in other ways. So there's obviously something not working out here for him.
Yeah, I mean, what does it do because we know we are going to just have a quick look at the points table before the toss, Lisa. What does it do to a side like that where they're having to, say, bring in a Jason Roy for a do or die match? Because yes, it's mathematical, but they're still in it.
Well, I think it shows you that Hyderabad are thinking we still want to win. We still want to get ourselves as close or give ourselves as many opportunities to get up that ladder, potentially take a few teams out as well. But more importantly, we've got to think the next IPL is not that far away as well. So we talk about you need to get a good feel within the club, the franchise. There has to be some enjoyment. And players are playing for their contracts come next year, the big auction. So there is still a lot at stake, not only for the franchise, the coaching staff and the players individually.
Yeah, we saw that there, Joy. 12 points is what they could get to.
Yeah, 12 points can get it for you. See, tactically what can happen is it really depends on the top two teams running away. Okay, so if Chennai and Delhi just keep winning everything that they have and they end up on 10, 11 wins each, then a position could open up where a team with 6 wins could get through. So that's the only way it can happen. It really requires the top two to run away. And the only matches the top two should lose should be to Sunrisers. I mean, that's the only way it can happen. It's a mathematical chance. But look, let me tell you something very simple. Okay, we know that 2 new franchises are being added. Okay, anyway, about 10%, 20% of money is increased every year in the IPL purse. Now, 10, 20% of money is increased. 25% more teams have increased if you go from 8 to 10. So the opportunities for players to get selected is huge. This is a mega auction. So there's a lot at stake. Gautam, this is a lot at stake. Every player is looking at it and saying they will play hard cricket till the last ball of this tournament, even if they were getting knocked out. I can promise you that there is way too much at stake. And, you do well and you get picked up by maybe Sunrisers again on a good contract or by another team. This is your make or break opportunity. There are 5 games to make or break. I would look at it that way, and I'm sure they're looking at it that way.
Yeah, there are a lot of dynamics that go into it when you come to the new teams coming in, the auction, etc. But the only thing we need to know for sure, and that's what may play on their minds, may see a different approach from them, is that if they do lose today, then there are no doubts. Then they definitely will leave us with 7 teams in the tournament. But sometimes, there was, Lisa just showed in some of the earlier games that they didn't seem to be coming with that killer instinct that they've come with in the past. And that's what was missing. It's not about necessarily Warner's runs, Williamson maybe playing a little extra cautious, but they just didn't have that killer instinct that maybe a Jason Holder walked in with single-handedly.
Yeah, credit to Jason Holder. I'm not a fan of a losing team getting the player of the match performance, but he was a standout, wasn't he? You're right. There has been something about Hyderabad from this start of the season. And to be honest, even last year as well, they just didn't seem the same. Tom Moody wasn't there last year. He's come back. I don't know if there's maybe too many chefs in the kitchen, and they all seem to be Australian at the top as well. So whether it be coaching staff or David Warner when he was captain, but things aren't quite right. And the fact that they're trying to change it up with Jason Roy coming in, that's a good sign. So they're only 1 win away. We talk about that. It can change like that in this type of competition.
Well, let me just update everyone with the news of the toss. The men in pink have won it. They've decided to bat first, which in a sense we've been seeing what the teams have been doing. But Joy, from a point of view of a team desperate to stay in the tournament, not the worst result, because they're the kind of team that maybe, yes, they like to set totals, but in this case, at least they'll know what they have to do in the second half, the business half of the game.
Yes, but exactly. But if I was Rajasthan, I'd definitely be looking to bat first as well, because, get first use of this track in terms of, get runs on the board. And remember that Rajasthan middle order is still, Tewatia has still not come into his own, and Tewatia is really, you don't expect, he's a miracle worker, don't expect miracles every day. But that Riyan Parag, that bottom end of that Rajasthan 4, 5, 6 doesn't look that strong at all. So they're saying, let's give our guys, let's give Sanju, even Lewis, let's give these guys a solid chance to put up 160, 170. We like our bowling attack. Mustafizur is really good. If Morris comes back, he's pretty decent as well. Sakaria is bowling well. I think they trust their bowling more than they trust their batting. And I think because it's a crucial match to them. For Rajasthan, there aren't any more easy matches left. This, they will have to look on as an easy match compared to the kind that's ahead of them.
Yeah, it's easy to discount a team when you're talking about, Lisa, you're talking about the men in orange who are desperate to win. It's easy to forget that Rajasthan too need to keep winning. It's not that it's just they're in there. They're not a Delhi or a Chennai. They will need this win to break into that top 4.
No, and I certainly feel that whilst the 3 big stars, the 3 big Englishmen are no longer there, they actually look a better balanced side. It's almost like they were putting all their eggs in one basket with them. But it does look a little bit better, and I like the way that they've got their batting order. You're right, the middle order still, they're searching, but their bowling has come good. They've clicked nicely. And the fact that they've got Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai and Kolkata, the last 4 games, for them, they have to win this one. They have to give themselves a chance.
It's strange to call it an easy game, but Joy, just from a psychological point of view, for someone who's sat there on the bench, do you actually tell yourselves in a franchise that there's something that's an easy game? Because while Hyderabad may have been the side to beat this tournament, the fact that they're in the position they're in, doesn't that make them even more dangerous in this situation?
It does actually. But what you're telling yourself is that it's not that we say this game is easy, but what you do is tell yourself, you have to win this game. You have to win this game. This is our best chance to win a game. Catch them. They're not confident right now. They're losing tight matches. This is a team we can hit hard. Maybe if we put pressure on them, they'll crumble. That doesn't necessarily happen. But you tell yourself that, they're saying that we cannot afford to let go of this chance. So what they won't be turning around and say, hey, who are these Hyderabad guys? We'll roll them over. But they'll say, look, guys, if there's any team we need to beat, this is the team now, because we beat them, we get to the table at this particular position. This is our best chance to qualify. And that's how they'll put it. They won't say it's an easy game, but they'll say, you have to hit these guys hard. And look, these things all matter. Everything I'll tell you in the IPL, in the tournaments like this, is momentum. You win 2 or 3 in a row, the same team looks so different. I mean, look at Kolkata. What was Kolkata looking like when they came back? They won those 2 in a row. Suddenly they look like a completely different team. So momentum is a very big thing. And what will happen is that Rajasthan will tell themselves, we win this, we get a bit of momentum, maybe the next match is ours as well. It's all about these little shifts of momentum here, there, 1-2 matches, bit of confidence, couple of centuries, couple of half centuries, couple of good results. You're all.
Isn't that a word, Joy, that we outlawed on this program?
He did. I actually tried to make sure I didn't say it, and he said about 5 times in that sentence. So that means I'm going hard.
But I think that was, don't worry. I told you Lisa wears 2 hats. That was the Aussie in her coming out. All right. Remember, there are likely to be several changes. We've only given you the hint of one change in the Orange Army, but let's tell you about Rajasthan. There are changes there as well, plenty of them, because some of the familiar faces have come back. Familiar in the sense that Evan Lewis was out. They were desperate to get him back in. So was Chris Morris. We saw his early impact in the tournament. And again, Jaydev Unadkat is the other one. We haven't quite seen this tournament. He's been the impact player for them, but I think that mix seems to be giving them a good balance. Lisa, the reason why Unadkat's come back in is because the man of the match from a previous game, Kartik Tyagi, is injured. So it's not that they've forgotten him for those heroics. But this team looks balanced to you.
Yeah, it does. And it is a shame that we're not seeing Kartik Tyagi, because that last over that he bowled, it was just sensational. And you like to see the youngsters being thrown in the deep end in pressure situations and being able to execute. Unadkat, he's kind of gone on a roller coaster, hasn't he, in the last probably 3 to 4 years. Was bought for a big amount of money, then just didn't perform. I feel like he scored some runs with the bat as well. So I think, he's got to find that balance and feel good from those little wins that he's had so far.
I frankly love this team, Gautam, because it does exactly what we were talking about just before this, that can Evan Lewis and Liam Livingstone play together? Because I feel with the Englishmen out, their top four are Evan Lewis, Liam Livingstone, foreigners, Chris Morris and Mustafizur, of course. This team has balance. I would have definitely loved to see Kartik Tyagi back. And, my only cavil, and I have to say it, is that Riyan Parag has got more rope. He's got so much rope, he can go skipping. He can have a whole skipping team with him, because really he has so far done nothing to justify his staying in that 11.
Correct.
And
let's stick to that rope, Joy, since you brought him up. Interesting that he was going to be my next talking point, but you've brought it up anyway, because the one thing we remember apart from his celebrations and the dances and how wonderful a story it was, the story doesn't last too long, Joy. It's all that dies away if the numbers are not being established.
Exactly. See, my point is, it's a very simple point. I love what he does off the field, and I love his social media presence and his pride in his home state. But that's not why he's here. He's here to play cricket. He's here to win matches for his team. And we simply have not seen enough maturity. We have not seen enough shots. We have not seen enough there to turn around and say that he's a permanent part of an 11 of an IPL franchise. I'm sorry. At this point in time, definitely not. And if you go back to that Rajasthan Royals unit, there are better players than him sitting out inside there. And I think they need to give him a chance. Because this is way too long a rope. Otherwise, I like this 11. If Kartik Tyagi is injured, what do you have to say? I mean, there's Shreyas Gopal out there. Shivam Dube was playing for India 6 months back. I mean, Shivam Dube was a serious prospect and is still considered a serious prospect out there. And I really feel he should be given more opportunities.
Well, that I think tells the story, Lisa.
Yeah, it does. And you just even look at Dubé and what he's been able to do in the first part of this edition. There was one game, 46 off 32, 22 off 18, 35. Like, that's more than what Riyan Parag has been able to do and able to score runs. I will play devil's advocate, because there may be, and you're right, Joy, in saying that he might be, as we call it here in Australia, a great tourist, as in he's great to have around the group. And sometimes if you're winning, you can afford to carry someone that just gets the morale going, and it's a nice feel-good factor. That's basically it. And maybe that's one of the reasons why, you're right, you're there to play cricket, you're there to do a role. I agree he should be changed, but maybe we don't have all of the pieces to the puzzle.
I love that expression, a great tourist. But I think it's a very good expression to apply, particularly to a franchise. Before we see the Hyderabad 11, Joy, I'm going to throw you a question. In your time with the franchise that you were there with, could you pick on someone who you'd say, yes, maybe you're not getting a lot of game time, but a great tourist, great guy to have in that dressing room?
Lots of guys. And they, for a variety of reasons. I mean, for example, one of the examples typically was Ryan Tendulkar. Brilliant player, absolutely hardcore professional, would go there, do everything in the nets, knew all the junior players, spoke to them, gave them advice in the nets. So, these are guys who, even when they are not involved, they're not getting too many games, they're giving you so much more out there in the dressing room with the players, with the management, that they need to be there. But here's my point, exactly that. Riyan Parag, in the dressing room, if he's good, hey, keep him there. He doesn't need to play in 11. I mean, I believe in that 20-member squad, you have a place for one or two characters who light up the place and give it that value. But you don't necessarily have them in your dressing room. And that's my only idea. You don't need them to have them in your 11. And that's my cavil out here. I just can't see him play there. And that 6 is a very crucial position, especially when you're chasing, in situations like that. You're finishers. And he's not finishing for them.
Well, today he will be in a different situation. For now, let's look at the opposition, because there are changes there as well. We've mentioned one at the very top. Jason Roy comes in, big DW goes out. So that brings some power at the top. It's a newcomer. We don't know, unknown quantity. Holder and Rashid Khan bring the solidity. But the other three changes, Lisa, Priyam Garg, Abhishek Sharma, Sid Kaul. Again, Sid Kaul is somebody who early days of the tournament was someone who made a lot of impact. Manish Pandey misses out.
Yeah, and that's a big call as well, isn't it? Hyderabad have not gone into this match lightly. They've gone, right, you, no runs, gone. Thank you very much. And they're giving opportunities to other players. And you mentioned Siddharth Kaul, with the headband running in, able to kind of nail his Yorkers, death bowling. He has been good in the past. So I'm glad to see that he's been given an opportunity.
Yeah, Khalil, of course, the man making way. Go ahead, Joy.
No, I was just thinking that it's very interesting. Siddharth Kaul definitely, but I think Siddharth Kaul a couple of seasons back, 2018-19, he was an India prospect. He was playing for India at that point in time. And then suddenly, in the last couple of years, he sort of tailed away with maybe his injury. He's lost that specific, that ability to do things. But I'm so glad he's coming back. But the other thing I want to talk to you about is, in the auction of 2018, I'm just taking you back there. There are players who are retained by the team, so we don't know the money they get, or we have an idea. But, the four most expensive players in the auction, the first was Ben Stokes, who's obviously injured and not playing today. This is the main 2018 auction. The second was Jaydev Unadkat, who just found his way back and sort of got into the 11, and he's not even a regular member in 11. He was the second most expensive player in the auction. And the two guys who were the third most expensive players in the auction, the third was, one of them was KL Rahul, who has more than justified his price many times down. And the only other person who got 11 crores with him was Manish Pandey. So, I'm looking at that auction and thinking about, so many things have happened and so much has changed in these 3.5, 4 years since that happened. Manish Pandey not finding a place in his side. I mean, they paid 11 crores for it.
We're going to come back to that discussion. But before that, I'm going to remind everybody that as and when you do, for those of you who haven't quite downloaded the My 11 Circle app, do so. If you've already done it, it's a reminder, do not pick Manish Pandey in your 11. It's a very good pick that we're giving you for the simple reason that he's not playing. Download the app, make your 11, pick captain and vice captain. Very simple steps to go through. The big thing to remember for this time, Joy mentioned auction figures. Well, you don't need to be in an auction. You can just play the game and win that first prize of 5 crore without even being a player. How's that? That's going to be awesome in terms of incentive. But as I said, lots of changes, so look out for that. We're going to give you our smart picks very shortly. But since we started talking about Manish Pandey, Joy gave us those figures, Lisa. For India, we had a whole discussion about how many games he spent out in a span of many years. In this case, it was inevitable that he was just not stamping his authority. Have a look at this as well. Most 50s in a losing cause in this particular tournament. And we can remember many times where he comes in there, team's not winning, but Pandey, 51 of 43, walks off. Never mind the result.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to pick up on this. When the last time I was with Manish Pandey in a dressing room, he won an IPL final for his team, scoring 93, which is chasing 200. Okay, he's won one-day international for India in Australia, playing in those conditions. And he is the most frustrating player you will ever get your head around. Because when Manish Pandey his head is right, he is the most amazing cricketer you will come across. Fantastic. He's a born sportsman. When he was in school and his father is an army officer, he used to play national level, literally, in cricket, in football, in athletics, in table tennis. Give him a game, he'd pick it up. He's that good. He's that agile. And it's just that when you see him playing one day and you look at him play and you wonder what happened the next day, because he just looks a different player. The other thing about Manish Pandey is, this numbers out here, it's not the total number of 50s in losing causes 13 that bothers you. It's the number of 50s in losing causes. That's 61.9%, which is a bother. That, A.B. de Villiers also scores, but A.B. de Villiers has got losing causes only in 30%. And most of those cases, he's been chasing targets that were well-nigh impossible and still taking his team close. 61% you're losing after you've got a 50 is, it's tough. I don't think. For
a talent like that, Lisa, how do you fix it? I mean, it's there. Joy gave those couple of examples. In a final of this tournament, you get that kind of a score. 100 in Australia, that doesn't come easy.
No, it doesn't. And the good thing for Manish Pandey is that he's actually done it, and Joy's given us the examples. So for me, it's between his ears. He's got all of the skill, he's got all of the talent, but the issue for him is there must be something from a shot selection or how he computes and works out when he needs to put his foot on the accelerator and he doesn't, where he gets it slightly wrong. The anxiety may build up, when he's looking at scoreboards, those type of things. So, I don't know how much access these guys have to sports psychologists. I don't know if one travels around with the franchises, because I know certainly the Australian women's cricket team, their sports psychologist stays with them the whole time. But I think it's between his ears, and it's disappointing because those type of players are frustrating. They're the most talented. You can see them winning games regularly, but they just don't do it.
I think Lisa's echoed your sentiments, Joy. Frustration was the word she used. Kolkata is one franchise who have had, even if it's not a psychologist, they've had external people coming in and as motivators, shall we say. Mike Horn being one of them.
Mike Horn being one of them. You've had motivators, but I think motivators are fantastic in the start of a tournament and, you're reaching the final. But I think what Lisa's also talking about is daily help, because the pressures are absolutely immense. And sometimes maybe it's not possible to have them in the dressing room. Okay, have somebody on call. You could today, there's Zoom, there's this thing. I need to have people you can talk to. And I think we've reached the stage where players need more professional help. It's not just a captain or a senior player putting an arm around you, because the kind of problems that, the world has created with this bubble, with COVID, with the kind of uncertainties around us, there's so much more pressure on young players, and they're not being able to meet family. They're not being able to meet a variety of people. They're not leading normal lives. None of us are, but their lives are even more abnormal than ours. Long quarantines, bubbles. Yeah. Absolutely.
And the other thing, Joy, is that the pressure of the IPL or playing for your country is immense. There are billions of people cheering you on, or quite happily nailing you on Twitter and social media. And the fact that they can't get away from cricket because of these bubbles is a real concern. I mean, we're seeing it across international cricket, international sport. But, I think gone are the days where people think if you need a sports psychologist, you're weak. I actually don't think so. I think you're very brave to ask for help if you need it.
Fair enough. I think that is something that's important. That's a message you need to send out there, the ability to be able to ask for it. And certainly we hope that they can sort it out. But we're always here. We're always helping hand. It's not just about mentioning to you. I've given you smart pick number 1, which is don't pick Manish Pandey because he's not in the 11. However, we are giving you 3 My 11 Circle smart picks of 3 people who are in the respective 11s. And we'll give you differing reasons for each. But let's start with the Fizz, Joy. I mean, how much of an impact he's had. He never gets talked about. He always comes there, 4 overs, 2 for 19, walks off, but he's never really talked about. Today, Fizz versus Williamson, big contest.
Yeah, Fizz is just one of the greatest bowlers in the world when he's on. When that wrist is ready and it's working. I mean, Fizz in 2016 came and just blew people away. I mean, he was one of the major reasons why they won the championship that year. And if you see after that, he's, the injury has caused it. And because he's such a super specialist kind of bowler, that wrist literally works like a Muralidharan wrist. It's unique. You cannot replicate it. He's very injury prone. If you're off, he was completely off. And then he just didn't look the kind of bowler he was. And just this season is finally when you're seeing Fizz again that you can speak to. Of course, Fizz belongs to what I call, talking a lot about himself. Fizz belongs to what I call the Jacques Kallis school of speaking, which is that, it requires dental surgery to get a few words out of that. You extract them word by word. So that's the Jacques Kallis school of speaking. You cannot get a word out of them. But he just lets his ball do the talking, and boy, can his ball talk.
But Joy, in all fairness, I mean, we have a few people who belong to that school, but Fizz had the language barrier.
Fizz definitely had the language barrier. He's a very amiable chap. He's a very friendly guy, but yeah. You ask him to speak in a press conference or something, he's not your.
They had, in fact, Lisa, interestingly, they had a person in the franchise when he first came in, and I was actually standing with Fizz on the boundary line in Dhaka the day he got selected. and he actually leaned over from the boundary line and asked me, "Koto," meaning how much did I get? So I didn't know the figures. I didn't know the figures. All I could tell him is, "Huh." I just told him, "Yes, you're in." And you should have seen him. He was a different person for those next whatever. There were 10 minutes left in that game. And then he came off, rushed into the dressing room, found out more, and then realized when he was chatting with me after the game, he said, "Will anybody speak Bengali in the team?" And ironically, they had a guy called Ricky Bhui, Lisa, in that setup, who had connections in Bengal. Ricky Bhui, I don't think played a single game for the franchise. His only job was to be the interpreter for Mustafizur Rahman.
Good tourist.
Sorry, Gautam.
Good tourist. There you go. We're back to it. Ricky Bhui, tourist number one. We'll make we've been making a lot of 11s this time. We'll make a really good tourist 11 before we are out. Not today. Maybe before in the later shows, Joy. Keep an eye on that. Good tourist 11. So players who are good enough to play, but players who have been good enough to be in a squad, but not making the 11.
Yeah, and players who are there for for adding to the squad in other ways rather than just say came on the field. I have one more for you, which I need you guys to think about, which is, we had the PTP 11, point to prove 11. After that, a couple of days back, we tried the PPT 11, which means guys who could have basically, wanted to go into education, studies, do other things, and suddenly wandered into cricket. So, Varun Chakravarti, Venkatesh Iyer, Kolkata has a lot of them. One of the other guys playing today is Joy Bhattacharjya, who's a brilliant student, absolutely brilliant student, cleared all his examinations, was, topper in his class, and then just played too well to not allow cricket to get an opportunity.
And interestingly, I know we're going off topic from the smart picks, and I'll get back to it, Lisa, but along with Jaydev Unadkat in that same Under-19 World Cup, there was a guy who was pushing him in number of wickets. I think he took more wickets than him in the tournament. Wasn't as lucky as Unadkat. Saurabh Netravalkar went on to do an MBA in Cornell before he playing for the USA. He went back, finished his MBA or MS possibly in computer science from Cornell, and is now captain of the United States.
Wow.
So last time I spoke to Saurabh Netravalkar was to invite him for the KKR camp in 2009 because we spotted him and he said, "Sir, thank you so much, but I think I'm going to the USA to study."
Yeah. Well, he had wandered around the CPL for a bit as well. That's how I got to catch up with him. But let's talk about the smart picks. We can let our conversations wander. We love it right here on the show, which is nothing wrong with that. As long as Jason Holder doesn't wander too far from his last performance, I think it's someone you'd really want to have in your side when he's on song, Lisa.
Yeah, and you've got to think of the fact that he wasn't getting an opportunity in T20 cricket. It was the Sunrisers that really gave him the chance, and he came in and he's taken it with both hands. Class all-rounder, great human being, great to have around the group, a wonderful leader, and he's that extra height, that extra bounce. But then those long levers, he does utilise them perfectly when he's bombing them straight back over the bowler's head.
Yeah, sometimes he needs the franchise to be doing well. I mean, I feel for Jason every time I see him back in the Caribbean and he's the leader,
yes.
Feeling a little lost because the team's not going anywhere. But there are 3 picks, we said. And for a change, we're not going to delve too much into numbers for the third one. It's just a feeling we've all had, including from the back of the production room. Throwback Tewatia is what we're talking about, Joy. Nothing wrong with it at times. Just pick him. Don't ask questions.
Shall I give you a better reason, which is a numbers reason?
Go ahead.
He got these runs on the 27th of September, 2020.
That is the reason we're calling it Throwback Tewatia. So
exactly 1 year back. Exactly
our producer
1 year back.
Is on the same page as you, Joy.
Exactly the same day. So you cannot not. You're tempting fate to say.
I'm getting him in. I'm getting him in. Give me a second. I'm getting
Right now.
While you ask your Joy Factor question, I will get Tewatia and my team.
I need you to do one more thing when I'm asking the Joy Factor question. Take a look and I'll tell you. I need some help on this.
All right. Go for it.
Okay. Here's the Joy Factor question coming up now. Do we have it? Yeah. In cricketing terms, okay. I don't need your help for it. I think I changed it. But in cricketing terms, what connects a street in the Eastern Cape, of course, in South Africa, the fourth largest city in Pakistan in terms of population, and a city in the Nadia district of West Bengal, which is obviously a state of India. And I think Gautam's got the answer.
I don't. I'm going to get to it, but I'm
A street in Eastern Cape, so a place in the Eastern Cape, which is obviously in South Africa.
yeah.
Fourth largest city of Pakistan in terms of population, and a district in West Bengal, a city in the Nadia district of West Bengal.
I love it. I just love it. Geography questions, get people back to school, get them to find out more about the world. We love it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm tired of them, throwing stats engines at me. So every once in a while, I sort of mix it up and give them something that they can't, just absorb that easy.
Lisa,
I've got no idea.
We're putting some pressure on you because unlike Michael Vaughan and Sean Pollock, who just throw their hands up and walk away, there was a time I think Bonnie actually walked away.
Well, I'm not far off, but I can't go anywhere because we're in lockdown here. So.
All right. Instead, Lisa, give us a prediction for the men in pink. Won the toss, decided to bat first. Do or die game for Kane Williamson's men. How much are they going to set them?
165.
Fairly safe-ish kind of total. Joy, which way are you going, or do you want me to go first?
No, I'll go higher. I'm going 174. I had that figure in my mind. I have a feeling they'll set it. They'll go or die, and they'll set a big target.
I'm going a little bit lower. They will try to go hard. It'll still be an exciting run chase, but I'm going 151. 151, lowish total, but it'll still make for a cracking finish in the game. Of course, if my past record is anything to go by, I'll be about 50 runs off. But never mind that. It's not about me. It's about the two teams out there. And it's also about all of you who are watching. Some of you are already subscribed to Cricbuzz Plus. For those who are not, trust me, you're missing out on the action. You're missing out on some supreme content, which is a must for every cricket fan. It could be interviews, it could be videos, it could be some fabulously written articles. Get in there and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. What we have here is just a tip of the iceberg in terms of our lovely conversations. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Joy. We will, of course, be joining both of you at some point in time. 10th over, Cricbuzz Combox. And at the end, we'll be back again to wrap up the first innings. This is Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle.